Boom.
I'll do that too.
What?
I mean,
No, I practiced to that. I can have my notes available. Again, I will have them here on the table.
I
In
just
case I
want
miss out something very important.
Okay.
Then I probably won't know that I missed
For
it.
you guys.
Yeah, that's fine. I'll have it here.
I'm going to do a classical recital. The song. Yeah.
A very modern Shakespeare, but Brechtian libretto. Yes. Sorry, now we begin.
Oh, did you give Ellie sound cues, by the way?
My cue will be this.
For which song, or?
Are they all in order?
Yes.
Then they're
Okay.
good enough.
Anyway.
Thank you.
So I guess I'm starting. I have had the pleasure of being a participant in Eric and Sophia's IRP research for the last 3 months. And in addition to their individual research, we've been in the space working practically on average like 3 days a week from 10 to 5. Practically exploring different aspects of their IRP in the room. Throughout this project, we have maintained a constant skills training in the mornings. So we've been working on juggling and handstands and cartwheels, and occasionally other things as well, as they seemed useful to what we were doing in the afternoons, because some things just require more practice. So for me, I can do a backbend now. That's my big win. And then in the afternoons, we've been working more, it's weird to say rehearsing, but we've dedicated a week to different aspects that we focused on while working on devised material. So we spent a week on text and sound and space and movement, all in our efforts to create material.
And then to give some background on my RRP, on my approach to this practical rehearsal. I would call it rehearsal, even though it wasn't necessarily aimed towards a final piece. I started this process. I decided that I want to explore some unknown territory for me, and then I figured out that it would be just as good to explore maybe the most mysterious part of our theater machinery, which is the dramaturg. A bit about myself. I come from a devised practice. I have a very experimental approach to things. And also my training came from an avant-garde tradition. So for me, the dramaturg is my collaborators, and it's myself. And dramaturgy is this magical thing that just happens whenever we make a decision. But then what is dramaturgy? And I thought, since in the field today, the modern or contemporary concept of dramaturgy, it seems very clouded, can I say that? It doesn't have any clear specific definitions. Or actually, it has several definitions. One of the definitions that I found interesting is actually that the dramaturgy is what the dramaturg does. That is the definition. And it's also, and it's presented here in this book, by the way. And she does that by listing a whole bunch of verbs, there we go, of what a dramaturg might do. I'll just read some of them. Accommodate, administer, advance, advise, advocate, analyze, approach, argue, this list goes on. Enter, evision, examine, facilitate, find, formulate, lecture, link, look, make, map, represent, research, respond, retain, seek, select, it just goes on. So figuring out what it means to me, that's what this goal should be. So I said it's something along this line, finding out what dramaturgy or how dramaturgy could be applicable to my practice. Mm. So I wanted to find a very practical entrance to theatre making through dramaturgy. Yeah, I have several books. There's also more behind here, and also, okay, another one on the user's guide to dramaturgy, the symposium held at the Central School of Speech and Drama. Another one was presented, definition, which is better for me, or I feel it resonates more with me, which is working with a dramaturg. It's like exploring without a map together with someone who's trying to make a map. And that resonates more with me, but I still wanted a really hands-on approach, because for me, what would dramaturgy mean to me as a theatre maker? And then I found only one place in a Norwegian book written by 4 theatre theorists and dramaturgs. They had a chapter where they had a theory. Supposedly, if you use this theory, you could use dramaturgy as your main source for creating material. And this is, they call this the entrance through, like dramaturgical entrances into the performance universe. And that is what Alyssa was talking about. We devoted 1 week for text, 1 week for sound, 1 week for space, 1 week for movement, even 2 weeks of just composition, figuring out what can we do. And that was my departure into this practice, into this rehearsal. And even though each of the elements, like what we generated came from a very specific element, it all arrived in a very specific artistic language.
Which has been my point of, like, my research point, entrance, my research. My RP question has been how to find a shared artistic language between the 3 of us through a shared working practice. So that has been collecting all of the things that we have done in the room and reflect and then try to implement how we can shape that into something coherent that could move forward. And I think that is actually enough about my RP right now.
Okay, so now we will just show you some of the discoveries that we have made. It's a collage. We might take the liberty to also stop and redo something if it feels necessary, okay? down here.
I don't think that goes the fire alarm.
No.
I don't think that's
You think
gonna
what?
happen.
Oh, I doubt it.
The
Yeah.
smoke detector.
No.
Oh. No.
Yeah. So, this was it.
Oh, yeah, maybe.
Which was really funny, because we tried it out, putting the phone in the piano, just to see if the if it. Oof.
Resonated.
Thank you.
Was louder.
And at the same time, a music guy came in here, fixing some of the instruments, and then he heard the sound, and he was looking everywhere, and had the speakers and everything. That was really fun. Oof. Okay. So where do we start now? Opening conversation, or is it?
If you have any questions, we will take them now. And then we have some thoughts of our own about how our research projects kind of went together.
Yeah, tell us that. So often tell us that.
So I think in a way they're quite, they create a lot of tension with each other, because mine is about creating cohesion and yours is about...
Well, in order to research my topic, I found it necessary, especially in the beginning, that we start every week totally new, right? explore. Okay, so just the provocation of sound, and then when we go into movement, that being the only provocation, and not having necessarily something coming from the past week. Of course, that didn't happen. There was a constant development, which I think was necessary for your IRP, right?
Yeah, but also, so I think for me, in the first couple of like rehearsal weeks, I feel like my IRP was focused more on working practice rather than like how do we structure a day? How do we work within that structure? When do we diverge from it? How do we make decisions? And we have like all made decisions. It's like non-hierarchical and everyone having to agree, or at least two people, so much so that the other person has to do it. But we had a very clear structure in the morning of every day where we did approximately like 20 minutes of juggling in the morning, and then skills section, which Alyssa and Eric talked about as well, with like cartwheels and handstands and juggling, and that kind of became the like foundation for the working practice research, as well as we played a lot of keepy uppy in this process so much. And in the beginning we used a lot of different variations of keepy uppy that we like came up with every day, like doing wall to wall, or with a square, or with a
triangle, because we're only 3 people.
We tried rectangle, which Water Ensemble did with us, but then like it doesn't really work with 3. And then, but there was a couple of those games that made us like way more competitive, but like almost created unnecessary tension in being competitive with each other. It's like, because it was like 2 people against 1 quite often, and then I think we settled on playing just normal keepy uppy, where all of 3 of us have to keep it up for as long as possible, which like builds this ensemble, and that kind of came out as a cohesive thing we do.
You see it also in the work. We are 3 people, and there's lots of games, and there's lots of 2, 1 on the outside, 2 on the outside even. We tried to figure out who was on the outside, and sometimes it felt like 1 was in the game and the 2 others were not. And then 2 were in the game and the last one was kind of jumping after, and like, yeah, I think the game, the structure that we did, rehearsal, skills training,
Yeah.
you can totally see it in what this became. And this is also just kind of a collage of the world, of the language, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, and it is, we can see what, but it would be good if you just articulate what the training was, because we can sort of see it, but it would be interesting just to know.
Like in the mornings, we always had, I don't know how long, but juggling. I became very good actually in the end. I can even juggle with a wall now, so that was really cool. We physically worked on handstands every day, and cartwheels every day. Like we have filmed, we took lots of film through the whole process. We have filmed from every day, juggling, cartwheels and handstands. Every day, also reflections at the end. And we made it very strict. Actually now it seemed very strict, or like structured, yes, not strict.
I think a lot of the stuff that came out of the morning training though was that, because it was also, if we hadn't seen each other over the weekend, or it was also talking and stretching and just checking in. But then it also was a lot of times you being like, oh, but I have this idea and I want to try this. So it was also trying out different things, which is where the body surfing came in.
Defying gravity. That was a constant search for me. Oh, I could do this, and if you just stand over there and like it doesn't work here. It's gravity. You can't. Okay. Yeah.
No, you have to try it before you speak.
Yeah, that's true.
But I think also it might be, but in terms of a lot of the like physical exercises we did, a lot of it was in movement week, because we had the different focus points of each week, but a lot of it just came in throughout the process because that's naturally what we all gravitated towards. But there was a lot of like shifting weight and taking each other's weight and carrying each other. We did cheer jumps as well, and we did a lot of things that to me is physical training that might be like kind of beyond what I have done before. And apart that, both built strength, like physical strength. Because some of the things we're doing now, I wouldn't have been able to do when we started in July, or a lot of it. And shifting weight. What else?
Just to add that we build our own vocabulary. Shifting weight, right? That is, of course, when you start. It's not jumping on top. But sorry, I think I poked you there. But shifting the weight, which is really important. Otherwise, no one can hold your weight. We also realize like fake weight. It's a word we just made up. It's when someone is doing this. There's actually no weight here, but I'm holding myself. Filling space. It's like we built a whole movement vocabulary even in this week.
I feel like we have created our own definitions of what those things mean to us in our group.
And which of you had the experience of, say, the basic contact improvisation exercises that you were touching?
I mean, I've done a little bit, but
Yeah,
like
yeah.
kind of not from any one practitioner, but
Just
from like workshops and things like that.
Yeah.
But I think you have more of that, like
Yeah.
more contemporary dance.
Yeah, but I also feel like what we decided almost in the beginning is that we can teach each other even if you have no idea what it is. And
Yeah.
just have seen, I don't know, Pinabouche, frantic, any kind of physical theater dance, dance safer, I have many here now. Seeing it on stage and wanting to do it and just trying it out. There's a lot of fail and error. All the times I tried to go against gravity, it never worked, even once, but there was many attempts,
Yeah. And also, a lot of the process has been shaped by what resources we've had, or lack thereof sometimes, because we didn't start with any mats, because we're up at Christopher Court. And then I think that is partly why they become such a big part of what we showed now.